Welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Lisa Boldo, and our issue is youth. Our topic today is music therapy, and joining us is John Carpente, the founder and executive director of the Rebecca Center at Malloy College. Welcome, John. It's good to have you here today.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Great. So, John, first of all, what is music therapy?
Music therapy, in a nutshell, is a dynamic process that involves the music therapist, who's a licensed or credentialed practitioner, utilizing music experiences with their clients to facilitate health and well-being. Now, deciding on which type of musical experiences the therapist may utilize all depends on the client. It's all individualized, and it's based on pathology, diagnosis, as well as assessment. There's a variety of musical experiences that therapists can offer. Generally, one of four methods is used. The first method is to use improvisation. Improvisation is where the client and the music therapist are in the moment, spontaneously creating music together. So it's an active experience for both the client and the therapist. There's also recreative music experiences in which the therapist may bring in a familiar song that is suited for the client, and they would perform this song together, and this song can be modified and adapted to the client's needs. The third experience is songwriting, in which the therapist and client engage in a songwriting process. So although they're trying to get the product of the song together, it's really what's happening while creating the song together, the dynamics, the relationship dynamics between the therapist and the client, where the therapy actually takes place.
So let me just ask you,
Sure.
Is it more about teaching people music or singing songs or, both?
That's a good question. Teaching people songs or instruments is more in the realm of education, and of course that could be therapeutic, However, we're using music for therapy. So in other words, we're more concerned about the therapeutic process, so we would have clinical goals, so the music therapist client using musical experiences to determine what type of treatment plan and goals would be employed for the future.
So how specifically is the music used? Is it, are you playing music at a certain time for the individuals, or how is the music used?
Again, it all depends on the client, but for example, let's say we're working with a child with autism, and he or she comes into the room. We have a variety of instruments available for the child that require no musical skill or training on the part of the child, and the therapist improvises music on the piano or the guitar that's reflecting the emotional qualities of the child, almost creating a musical portrait of the child. The task of the therapist is to get the child to engage in music making. So if the child then comes to a drum and explores the drum in an isolated way, just really getting a sensory experience, the therapist creates music, automatically making it relational. The whole idea is to get reciprocity back and forth within the musical play.
So what type of children benefit the most? What types of children benefit from music therapy?
Well, all types of pathologies. We have therapists who work in hospitals and in schools and in clinics and in psychiatric facilities. So the musical experience would be based on the type of child or adolescent, that the therapist is working with.
Okay. And it seems that these days we're hearing more and more children being diagnosed with autism. Do you feel this is correct? And if so, why?
That's a complex question, and autism is a complex disorder.
Yeah.
Autism can disguise itself in many ways, and I think because of that, we see that some kids are being misdiagnosed. For example, you may have a child who has a sensory integration disorder, which basically means that his nervous system is on overload. He's having a hard time integrating the sounds and the sights of the environment, and that may cause him to engage in some type of self-stimulatory behavior, such as flapping, and that's automatically identified with autism. But really, the child may just have a sensory issue as opposed to having an autism diagnosis.
Do you feel that music therapy can actually normalize a child with autism?
We don't normalize. We can't cure a child with autism, but what we can do, and we do currently, is utilize music to reach the child's developmental potentials.
So do you work with other individuals besides children? Do you work with adults or other individuals with developmental challenges?
Yes, we work with children, adolescents, and adults with developmental and emotional challenges as well.
Well, I understand that you're a former musician. Do you feel that there are opportunities out there for musicians in the music therapy field?
Yes, the Rebecca Center is housed at Malloy College, and we have a graduate, undergraduate music therapy program there at the college, and we're seeing more and more musicians coming in to learn more about our degree, and also music educators, people who teach in schools as well as private lessons. Being a good musician is very important in being a good music therapist, because we have to understand the language.
Right. Do you think that there are opportunities also for people, say psychologists or social workers or special ed teachers as well?
Absolutely. Generally, we'll find psychologists who have musical backgrounds that would come in, and also special ed teachers. And they are learning that music is becoming an integral component of the classroom. They want to know more about it. And they will come in and investigate how they can enhance what they're already doing with the children.
So the Rebecca Center, what is exactly the Rebecca Center for Music Therapy at Malloy College?
The Rebecca Center is a music therapy clinic that provides clinical services for children, adolescents, and adults. It also is a training facility for our undergraduate and graduate students studying music therapy. So in order to fulfill the requirements to become a music therapist, you need to fulfill X amount of hours in an internship or practicum site. Also, we provide family music-based programs. So we have sibling groups, siblings of children with autism. We also have a parent coalition, which we provide resources for parents, as well as training opportunities and how they can do at home what we're doing at the clinic. And also, we're engaged now in research. So we have a multifaceted mission at the center.
So what would a typical music therapy session look and sound like?
At the center, we primarily work with kids on the autistic spectrum. So generally, as I said earlier, the child comes in and we unconditionally accept whatever behaviors he brings into the room. These could be some idiosyncratic behaviors, and we try to accompany it with music. So if the child comes in and is just trying to explore the room, we will improvise music on the piano, use voice, whereby letting him or her know that we are here. The goal would be if the child comes to a drum or a xylimba or a xylophone or the piano and begins to play and explore the instrument, the therapist is right there to shift the music that they're improvising to meet the child, to get into this back and forth flow of musical dialogue, whereby really we're targeting the core deficits of autism, which are relating and communicating.
So you're seeing some really good results with these children. What do the parents feel about the end result of, what's happening with the music therapy?
The parents love what we're doing, and we have a great core of parents that are so dedicated to their kids and also to their music therapy treatment. And we have parents that say, now Johnny wants to play with his sister. Johnny now, instead of avoiding social interaction, is now seeking out other kids and wants to get into a world with other people. So we're seeing really the interactional and the relational things that are developing in music that are new for the mom and dad to see at home.
That's wonderful. And you seem very passionate about what you do. What is it that fueled your passion for this music therapy?
Well, when you have a parent come to you and say, today was the first time that my child said dad. I'm a parent myself, and to hear that, is just priceless. I used to be a musician. I was in the music business, and it was great. But now to use these gifts and the power of music, where you're really giving almost, I don't want to say a life, but bringing something special to these kids and the family as a whole.
Can you give us a success that, somebody in particular that you worked with that stands out to you?
Sure. I remember this boy, Charles, who came in at 6 years old, and he was very musical, but he learned how to use his skills of being musical to keep the world from him. So in other words, it was hard to interact with Charles because he was just so musical, and you would think that because he's musical, he's interacting. But that wasn't the case. And so when we would impose challenges on Charles, he would have a hard time. His emotional range is very limited, and he would melt down and would have a hard time bridging ideas with other people. Long story short, I worked with Charles for probably 5 or 6 years. He doesn't come to the center anymore. He's outgrown us. And not only is he mainstreamed in, I think he's in junior high school now, but he is also the top snare drum player in Long Island, plays in a jazz ensemble and in an orchestra, in addition to his regular academic day.
That's beautiful. So you actually keep in touch with these children even long after they've left the program.
Yeah, we try to, because they've moved us just as much as we've moved them. They're our teachers.
Wow, that's amazing. So overall, how long have you been involved with the Rebecca Center?
Well, I founded the Rebecca Center about 12 years ago. And in 2002, we were housed at Malloy College, but we were still a separate entity, although Malloy was very open to us, although we were a training facility for the students. And as of 2 years ago, Malloy took over the center and built us a state-of-the-art facility on campus at Malloy College.
Wow. So how many students would you say as a whole you take at one time?
We see about 60 kids a week. So they come generally once or twice a week.
This has just been wonderful. John, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be right back.
There's just something about being outdoors.